After Gojo Satoru's defeat, we now have the next generation of sorcerers, obviously being the next group that takes on Sukuna aside from Kashimo, who seems to be throwing hands first. With Sukuna severely weakened from his fight with Gojo, it may be possible for this group to win, but how can they pull it off, and who will be the MVP that essentially brings down Sukuna for good? In today's video, I'll be going over the main sorcerers that are contributing and all of their skills that will be useful against the King of Curses. If you want more JJK related videos, let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see next, and also like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Share it with your friends, share it with your grandma, you already know. And let's just get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. The main thing to take away from the Gojo fight is that Sukuna definitely is not at his peak, which would at least allow any of the four to not just get absolutely one-shotted, which would usually be the case. Now, we know Kashimo is up first against Sukuna, and his lightning, aside from Gojo and Sukuna themselves, is probably the fastest attack we've seen in the verse. Like, I can't really think of another technique that would be faster than this, but let me know down in the comments what you guys think. Maybe due to Sukuna being weakened, Kashimo could now catch him with these lightning bolts, which obviously could allow him to use his curse technique that he's been constantly saying he's been saving for Sukuna. Now, as much as I want Kashimo to just straight up get the W, I don't think the narrative is going to be going with this. And if I just simply say to you guys that Kashimo is just going to win, as much as I want that to happen and I'm a Kashimo fanboy, this is not Agenda Kaizen, this is Jujutsu Kaisen. And more than likely, it's either going to be Kashimo not getting the technique off at all, or the technique significantly damaging him, and it's very possible that Kashimo also dies, but not without contributing his part against Sukuna. I don't know if he's going to die, but I do think the possibility of that is very likely. And you guys might be asking, why would Kashimo die? What would be taken away from that? Well, Hakari might actually have some motivation to fight again, as he found Kashimo to be a strong and entertaining opponent, and it'll be the first time we see him do something in any of these chapters. I could also see maybe Kashimo getting saved by the trio and the others and Kashimo just jump him after the technique goes off, which is just more potential stacked odds against Sukuna. And so by this point, the next 3 gen sorcerers, or Hakari, Maki, and Yuta, would finally arrive on the scene, with Hakari having access to his JackPot ability, Yuta having access to Rika's full power, and Maki's physical prowess that surpasses that of Toji Zenin. These 3, in my opinion, just have to jump him. I mean, we saw a weaker version of bro needing to get jumped by one of these 3 sorcerers plus Itadori. So there's just absolutely no way any of them are just going to be like, oh, I'll handle him one-on-one. That is not how they are going to be approaching the situation. The only person I can see maybe doing this is Hakari, who would just be using his JackPot to survive out of pure luck. Now, if Kashimo isn't alive or his curse technique does not prove to do that much against Sukuna, I feel like the next best thing for the group is Hakari to just simply rely on his pure luck and sacrifice a couple limbs to not only allow himself to fight for a decent amount of time, but it would allow Yuta, Rika, and Maki to gang up on Sukuna to turn the tides against him. I feel like this is probably the most realistic approach I can see them taking the fight, since we have nothing else to really go off of that's not pure speculation. Just seeing from the Hakari versus Kashimo fight along with the Maki and Yuta stuff in the calling games, I think it is easy to see that these guys, especially with the weakened Sukuna, are going to give him a hard time. At worst, he's just going to be hurting Hakari, who's going to be jackpotting, hacking his way around it. And maybe Sukuna is about to kill one of them, which leads into Rika just Piccolo shielding, leading into a rage amp to Yuta and Maki maybe wombo comboing while Hakari is attacking him. There's definitely a lot of approaches, but I feel like the most realistic one is probably going to be Hakari using his JackPot as a way to basically get past all of Sukuna's techniques. Now, another possibility could be that Yuta manages to domain trap Sukuna, but this, similar to Kashimo's case, is a very questionable win con. Not only do we not know his domain ability, but his domain itself was negated by both Ryu and Uro, which I do not think Sukuna is going to be weaker than either of them, but that's just how I see it. But again, I can see this possibility if you just say that Sukuna is weakened. It could be possible if Yuta's domain is something like copying, that he can copy curse techniques, and theoretically we could see Yuta slashing Sukuna with his own cleave and allowing Maki to just throw full-on combos. That would be absolutely insane, but to say Yuta could do this right now is giving my boy a lot of credit here, and I think what more than likely will happen is Rika is going to be his shield basically, and this will allow him and Maki to try and take a similar approach to Yuji and Maki versus Maguna and throw combos at him. Only now with the likes of Hakari there as well, who has monstrous physical prowess, now helping them. And this leads us into the final player who I haven't really talked about too much, that being Maki. Now, I'm not gonna lie, she is probably the least likely to kill Maguna here. This is not to shame her in any way, but when it comes to the 4 fighters we're talking about, you know, Kashimo's fast lightning with his hyped up technique, Hakari's unbeatable luck, you know, Yuta's unlimited supply of cursed energy, we then have Maki, who is just pure hands. Again, this isn't to take away from Maki, she's an absolute monster and has access to tools that could prove troublesome to Sukuna. But I do believe she works best here as a support due to her having the best physical prowess. You guys might be looking at me, what are you waffling about? Let me explain. With an advantage like this, you could have Maki being the one coordinating exactly where others could be striking, or her simply keeping up with Sukuna due to the skill advantage, rather than just her pure cursed energy or pure luck like in Yuta or Hakari's case. This could also come into play with her and Yuta's combos, as Yuta knows how she fights and can make it tricky for an opponent to fight him. So, although she probably doesn't have a straight up answer to a lot of things Sukuna has like Hakari, Yuta, or Kashimo, but what she does have can allow the team to not only prepare for what's to come, but even take out Sukuna before he can even make his next move. Alright, so we covered all 4 fighters and the potential combos, but who is going to be the one to eliminate him? If I had to choose someone, I think it's probably going to be none of them.
Oh brother, he's gonna say it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it. You see, there's still another fighter we have not spoken about who would have just lost his mentor by this point and would just be driven with rage, that being Yuji Itadori. Now, this might sound like a cop-out, so before anyone gets mad in the comments, let me just say that I do believe these 4 are a way to push the next gen taking over narrative, but also are going to allow our protagonist, who would have probably gotten a boost after his mentor falls due to rage, to finally get his revenge and defeat the person that is the very reason why this whole adventure started in the first place. Itadori probably isn't going to fight at first, and more than likely is just going to be in a state of shock, which in the meantime these 4 are going to be fighting Sukuna, and maybe Maki or Yuta are just going to tell Itadori to not fight. And eventually both parties are going to be pretty worn down. Maybe Kashimo dies, maybe someone else dies, Hakari could lose a limb, maybe Yuta loses Rika. Regardless of the details, I sincerely believe this will lead into Yuji coming down and taking on Sukuna in a head-to-head confrontation. If Geiji really went the Gojo route, then this would be the best outcome for both the story and fans in my opinion. But for those who'd like to know who I think contributed the most out of these 4 specifically, well then I'd say it's going to be Kashimo if the curse technique is successful. If not, then it's probably going to be Hakari's JackPot spam, with Yuta and Maki obviously playing their roles. But you know, Geiji is unpredictable and I could be completely wrong. But for now, I'm personally putting all my stocks into Kashimo, as should you guys, because, you know, if it's a one-on-one in terms of curse techniques, always bet on Kashimo. Seriously though, let me know down below who you think will kill Sukuna, and I'll see you guys in the next one.